Alright, let's take a look at this bocce ball court. I don't know if you've ever played bocce ball, but you stand at one line and you pitch toward the other end. So a lot of this might not make sense, but we do have, notice, a pitch line right here. Notice a lot of things appear to be perpendicular here. So we could assume things are perpendicular, but given our rules for geometry, we can't just make that assumption. Okay, it looks like all of these lines form right angles. We have to have a property that goes with it so that we know that that's the case. Okay, we can't just assume that that's the case. So let's first take a look here. It says angle 1 and angle 2 on each side here. Now, they look like they're 90-degree angles, but what property that we've talked about would allow us to absolutely know that angle 1 and angle 2 are 90 degrees each? Well, hopefully you remember the property from within this lesson that says that if you have two angles that are congruent, so let's say we knew that angle 1 was congruent to angle 2. Notice they do form a linear pair. They form a straight line. Okay, so that tells me that angle 1 and angle 2 are both 90 degrees, and that if they're both 90 degrees, then that means that BH is perpendicular to GJ down there, or GM. Okay, so if I know 1 and 2 are congruent, then I can assume that yes, then those would have to be right angles, 90 and 90, which means in turn that BH is perpendicular to GJ. Okay, some other things that we could assume. Again, we want to assume lots of things, but we cannot. The properties of geometry tell us that that's not okay. Okay, in order to draw any conclusions in geometry, you have to have actual fact to go with them. So what if they told us that the pitch lines were parallel? So let's say pitch lines. Notice those are labeled. This is a pitch line, and this is a pitch line. Suppose they told us those were parallel. I'm going to put the little parallel markings on them. Okay, let's say we don't only know that. We don't only know that these are parallel, but let's say that we know, because we showed earlier, that BH is perpendicular here and here. Well, if these two lines are parallel, another of our properties said that if we have a pair of parallel lines, okay, and a line is passing through here is perpendicular to one, it's automatically perpendicular to the other. Okay, so that would mean here and also here, these form right angles also. Now they looked that way, but we had to have the properties there with them. Okay, so we're assuming in this picture we are using the assumption that we knew that the pitch lines were parallel. Okay, so pitch line is parallel to the other pitch line at the other end, and we're also assuming, or we're also told that BH is perpendicular to the top and the bottom there. That would tell me that this line EL is going to be perpendicular to the line DF. It also tells me that EL is going to be perpendicular to the line KM, so perpendicular here and here. So a lot of things we could assume from this picture, but you'll want to read your questions carefully, see what they actually give you as fact, and then you can draw conclusions using the theorems that we studied.